Howdy, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another new form event with me, your host, Brandon Groce. Today, we have an amazing guest by the name of Guido Rosso. He is the co-founder and CEO of Rive, an amazing interactive animation platform allowing designers and developers alike to create some of the hottest interactive animations for web, games, and more. With that being said, today we're going to be talking about what is Rive, how it came to be, why you should be using Rive, how to begin if you haven't been in motion graphics, how you can get into Rive 101's courses, video tutorials, so on and so forth. There's a lot of things to get your hands in to this platform that allow you to get the ball rolling very quickly. With that said, we also talk about at the very end of this video what Guido and his team are very much looking forward to bringing to the Rive platform. You guys get a little bit of a sneak peek here. With that being said, links to Rive's content, video tutorials, website, and community are down below. So check out Rive's links in the description if you're here on YouTube. With that being said, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and let the interview begin. How you doing, Guido? And I apologize, man. Oh, man. I don't know what was going on. Tongue twister. My tongue got extremely dry. I think it was just our conversation before this, man. I think I was just that excited to meet you, brother. I was like, man, where did all my sauce go? It just vanished.
We pre-gamed a little too hard.
A little too hard, and for whatever reason my room got a little hotter. But brother, it's a pleasure to have you, my friend. And I think I say this for all of us. I want to kind of dive into the background of you, your co-founder, your twin Luigi, how Rive really came to be before we kind of talk about the platform itself. So with that said, my first question to you is, what did you guys see in the market that the market really needed? Why bring Rive to life?
Sure. Yeah. So Luigi and I, he's my twin brother. We're co-founders. He's the engineer. I'm the designer, and we've worked together for almost 25 years now. We started our first company in the late 90s, and he went really deep into engineering. He started modding Quake 2 and custom other game engines, and quickly started building his own game engines, own tools, and I was doing all the graphics for it. And we quickly realized this is a good team. You're the engineer, I'm the designer. We can just kind of also sell ourselves as a much bigger team by doing that, by being really complementary. And we spent basically the next 25 years doing that. We started a services company, moved all over the world. We started in Malaysia and then moved to Rome, Italy for college, where the company took off, and ended up realizing that most of our customers were actually in the US. So we moved to the US. Anyway, the reason I'm telling you all this is that we were working for these companies that needed stuff to be really custom. We were working with companies on the Xbox 360. We did the first third-party apps like Netflix and HBO. We were working with customers like Red Bull, MLB, Adobe Flash. Actually started with Macromedia and then became Adobe, and we built all the components that shipped in Flash. And and the reason for telling you all this is that there was always a lot of custom work, and it always had a lot of motion graphics behind it. And we always just realized it was a lot of effort to do that. It was always designers kind of having to come up with a vision, and then engineers having to rebuild it in code. And basically all that time of spending working on these brands that really care about having something that's really unique and that stands out, it formed an opinion on for him and I on how we believe designers and devs should work. Designers should be able to build graphics that actually run, and engineers shouldn't be rebuilding everything in code. And that's really what Rive is all about, and where the concept came from. And that's Rive is a solution to that problem.
I love it, man. And one of the things to follow up with that is a lot of when people see a tool like yours, even me, you guys hire a lot of amazing artists. That's what caught me at first, where I was just a lot of other tools, it's just we just do animate. We help facilitate animation. And it's just okay. But I feel like you guys are one of the first teams, product teams, that actually, it looks like it's artist first, but then it's developer second. Is it really like that? Or how many people in your guys' community? Is it 50-50 designer, artist?
Yeah, so the latest numbers, I need to double check, but if I remember right, we were sort of split 40-40, and then there's 20% that don't want to categorize themselves as just a designer or just a developer, whether they're kind of a split or they're our tool is free, so we get a lot of signups. So there might be also folks that are just, more like product managers or folks that are not really involved in the direct production of the design assets. But yeah, so backing up, like when we first started the product and kind of got put on stage with Google, which is how we got like a bunch of users initially. Because it was a Google event that kind of presented us, it ended up just being a ton of developers. And so really early on, it was like the majority was developers, and they were trying to convince their designers, hey, how do I get my designers to use Rive? And then I'd say about like last year is where we saw it really shift, where now it's the designers that are asking us, how do we get our developers to convince them to let us use Rive in our products. So yeah, that's the answer. We're pretty split right now, 40-40.
I love that, man. And because one of my main questions for you was, as somebody who's seeing these beautiful animations, how beginner friendly is Rive? I know you guys have a huge plethora of resources, videos for people who are trying to get into the platform, but just from you and others in the community, how beginner friendly is it for those who are just like, dang, I see the crazy stuff that people have been making with Rive. Pepsi's using this, Figma, Google, Duolingo, Adobe, Notion, Samsung. That's hot. How do I get on that train? So I'd say so one of the best ways to learn Rive is our community. We have these community files that you can actually go in and open them up and just see how things work. And it goes from like really basic stuff to like basically just a button that, doesn't even have animation. It just hover it and does something, click it, it does something else. That's probably one of like most basic spots to start and understand what's really unique about Rive. Because as far as like the design features and the animation features, there isn't anything really all that revolutionary. We have some really unique things, but if you're looking at getting started, you can pretty much follow any, design tutorial course or animation tutorial or course. And a lot of that stuff pretty much carries over. Where Rive is really unique is on the interactive front with, our state machines, and we have some more unique things like bones and character animation stuff. But if you're just looking to get started with design and animation, like Rive is no different than any other design or animation tool there. And in fact, you can import things from other design tools too, which is a way to get started if you already have, something that you're familiar with. One other thing I'll say real quick is that we do have a Rive 101 course. So that's our YouTube channel that has just a bunch of beginner friendly tutorials and courses. Our website has like a Learn Rive section that's got some pretty good documentation, and we're also pretty lucky where, like I said, like last year really started getting a lot of uptick in users and recognition, and we have some pretty awesome folks working on courses like School of Motion. Joey Kornman, the founder of School of Motion, he's working on a Rive course which will be out later this year, and I think will be really great for folks that kind of just know a little bit enough design and animation to be dangerous, but want to just like take it like a little bit further and start like adding interactivity to it. And he'll have a really great course that kind of just like, breaks that all down in really good building blocks. I love it. School of Motion, guys. I actually, that was the first interview that I saw of you, and you guys went into a pretty good detail of kind of what you have going over at Rive, what you're excited about, the technical problems that you guys solve. I love that channel. I just wish awesome. I had more time to actually practice that. So, and hopefully that's why I'm very looking forward to playing around with Rive, because I was just like, I don't see anything else like it on the market in terms of like being able to build the things that we do in web design, to be able to do it in an interactive fashion, responsively, especially. The next thing I wanted to talk about, you were kind of alluding to, people using other platforms or importers. What are some other, you guys have to kind of build for workflows that designers and devs are kind of within already. What are the workflows that you kind of have had to put and position Rive into so that the designers, the devs that are doing what they do, Rive fits into it?
Yeah, good question. So that is worth calling out, that we're trying to do something different, and we're not really building a tool that competes with other design tools. We see it as kind of this new category of, we talk about runtime design and the ability for designers to build graphics that run and make it easy for developers to implement. And so initially that's kind of hard to explain to people. So like, wait, what is this? Like what people need to kind of put it in terms of like, what can I compare this to? It's hard to get people, there's a really good quote. Let's see if I can remember it here. Oh, did my audio disconnect? Hang on.
No, you're good, brother.
Okay. I started hearing something
loud and
else.
clear.
Yeah. Okay, good. What was I saying? Yeah, there's like I was trying to remember the quote now. It's not going to come to me. It's like a really good marketing quote. That's something along the lines of, oh yeah, it's easy. It's much harder to start your own conversation than it is to join a conversation that's already happening. And so in that term, like it helped us realize like, okay, we got to build some importers, help people import from After Effects, help people import from like PSDs, from Photoshop. We have a SVG as kind of our interchange format, which means that if you copy paste from Illustrator, you can just paste straight into Rive, and it uses an SVG to just paste it directly. Same with Figma, you can right click, copy as SVG. You can also export as SVG and drag it into Rive. So yeah, that was part of the initial positioning, was make sure like, yeah, you can get started and bring things in, but Rive is really different from all those tools. We're not really trying to compete with them in the sense that as great as all those tools are, you're either only focused purely on the design or the animation, and there's less about the implementation and building something that actually runs and works in the final product. And that's really where Rive is just different from all those other tools.
I love it. I love how you're saying that we're not really trying to compete. We're trying to implement something a little bit new. We're not trying to focus on the design. We're trying to just pull in and use the workflows that people are doing to, because man, you said it. I've not seen anything where it's just like, I'm almost watching with some of the things that I've seen from the platform. I'm like, what? I might as well be watching a cartoon that I can interact with. So with that being said, how about we do some a little bit of showcasing, do some screen sharing action? How about?
Yeah,
all right,
happy to show a little bit. I can start with our website. You see my screen? Let's see.
Yep, we are good to go. Full screen.
So this is our website, and I think one way to think about it is like, you can see this get started button. Like, this is Rive right here. You see there's just a astronaut guy that's coming out and quite a bit. You can see it there. And it's kind of like, you can think of it as, at its core, it's a new graphics format, right? This is like the same way as you like load made that start too soon. Same way you like load a PNG or an SVG. This has a width and a height, and you load it like an image. But it's now also got state. So it's a graphics format that you can interact with at any moment, and it can change state. And it's got like an infinite permutation of those states. So for example, like up here, this button, you hover one side and the cat pop comes out, cover the other side, that one comes out, and then you move down and like kind of starts chasing your cursor and follows you all around. And it would take so much effort to like build this with like a GIF or a video or any other format that currently exists. And so that's kind of like what Rive is at its core, is that it's a new graphics format that has state. It's made for software first and foremost. Like it's a point I always like to make when we're talking about Rive, is like, if you think about other design tools and what they export, you can export like an SVG, a PNG, but they're all kind of like just like a representation of an image at rest. Like, it's just here's a bunch of pixels and what they should look like right now. Even video, right, is just a sequence of frames that you can is built to like basically print on film, right? That's why video first came to be. Like, it was used in kind of the first Hollywood movies and all that to kind of make special effects and then print it on film. And the difference is that like everything that like the majority of what designers build nowadays is never going to be printed. It's most of what you build is actually going to go in software, and it'll be running on a website or on a TV or a car dashboard or a phone or your fridge. And so we think there's this need for a new format, and that's where this all begins, is this new format that has state. And it just so happens that animation is a great way to show it off, because we've built this end-to-end pipeline that enables it to basically change state every frame. And so a great way to showcase that is through animation. But really, people are using us to build entire UI for games. Games is an example of where designers want something really custom, something really unique. They don't want to use just off-the-shelf parts. And so even building like a UI that is really unique and interactive is something you can do with Rive. And then you can layer on top a ton of animation too, and it'll handle it fine. Brands like Duolingo and Notion are using Rive. Duolingo, if you've used the app, you'll probably know how much animation it has. It's got a lot of characters, a lot of just everything comes really alive. And then part of what's unique is that the format is so lightweight and small that you can use it to build like obviously like an entire game or entire UI, or you can use it just for like small parts, like these like little micro interactions. You can load it into a smaller you can load the smaller format into a bigger runtime, and because of that, how tidy it is and how performant it is, it has that flexibility. So yeah, going maybe to the more fun stuff. I should get into the editor and show you how some of this stuff works. But essentially, like just to cover what the full product is that it's that format. It's a custom editor that's built for the format. So our editor, when you work in our editor, you're actually building this new type of format, and you're running this runtime, which is basically like an open source library we've created that can allow Rive files to run on all these platforms. It can run on the web, it can run on iOS, Android, on Bill. It basically means that you can build these graphics, make them interactive, make them so devs can hook up data to them, and then know that they're going to run exactly the same in your editor as they are in any of these platforms. All right, so it's a lot of talking. There's one final part that is the renderer, which is like part of the stuff that we've open sourced is like a new way to make vector graphics go fast. And that's just all to say that we have like this end-to-end pipeline built specifically for this. It's made specifically for graphics that are meant to run. So yeah, I can hop in the editor to show you a quick file here to actually be a little bit more interesting than looking at just our website. But this is like an example of like a very small component you can build with Rive, like a little star rating component. And essentially, like if you use Figma or Sketch or Illustrator, you'll feel right at home. This is basically like your hierarchy over here. You can select some objects and see their properties on the right. You got like your pen tool, procedural paths. Tool. We have some more unique things like bones and weights and joysticks, but for the most part, if you've used any design tool, like this will feel right at home. And then animate mode is where if you use anything like After Effects or Cinema 4D, you'll feel at home. So this, again, it feels like any other animation tool. We have a bunch of like, we have like easing curves. You can view them on a timeline here. We support all like the big shortcuts that people love, from like U to expand and collapse, and hold Alt to resize keys. Anyway, animation wise, it all feels pretty straightforward and like what you'd expect. Or it's really different is the state machine, which you've probably heard us talk about. And if you've seen Rive, you've probably heard about a state machine. And that's where Rive is really like not like any other design tool out there. Like unless you've worked with a game engine, you probably haven't used state machines. And game engines aren't really design tools. They're more developer tools. So that you can take on the state machine, you can take like these animations and drag them out onto a graph and connect them with transitions. And this is where you can set up like basically some rules and conditions for why an animation would move from one state to another. And I'm going to delete this because it's working, but if I hit play, you'll see that I can now click on this like star rating component, and I've built a little functional component that's, it's not a mock-up, it's not a prototype. This can actually be connected to real life data. And the way that it works is that essentially I would export this image, like an image and kind of a width and a height, but it'd be a .riv, you call them rivs. And your developers hook into this rating property here. So this is like state machines essentially just react to external data. So I've basically made this contract with my engineering team that says, hey, this file, you have to find this rating component and you have to set it to what you want it to be. And it supports 0 through 5. So 0 is disabled, 1 is 1 star, 3 is 3 stars, 4 stars. And basically your code just updates that one little input. And you don't have to like, you don't need a dev mode where you go in here and you're like, what's the spacing here? Like 5 pixels between this star and that star. And this star is actually FFFAFA. It's not exact. It's slightly alpha white. You don't have to document all that. Like that goes away. Your engineers don't care about that. All they care about is like what's the data I have to hook into. And then the beautiful part about that is that once you've built something like this and you've hooked it up, designers can keep iterating on the graphics. So I could like build, I could swap out the graphics and the animations for something that looks totally different, like this. That's also like there's darts flying in, there's other stuff happening. And provided that rating input stayed the same, we don't have to update any code at runtime. We just swap this file out and it'll work. So I know that was a lot. Final thought is just that you can take, I've shown you a very small part of what Rive do, this like a little component. You can take that and, use like this concept of building blocks. So you have, multiple components with their own state machines. All of these have their own animations and state machines, and then make it part of a bigger component over here, that bigger state machine that's now controlling sub-state machines. And you can build something really unique, like, like this could be, instead of a combo box, a drop-down menu, now you've got like this hexagonal pattern that opens up and has sub-menus in it. Or, you could build, where is it, like a whole fighting game menu, like for this is a much bigger project that actually demonstrates how you can have multiple designers connected to the same file. So we had like some character animators over here, and they were like, they painted these in Photoshop and brought them into Rive and just like rigged them with bones. This one's super cool. They just did a really good job, making them look like they have like a lot of depth, and they look almost 3D, but these are just flat 2D graphics. And then you had some UI folks over here that were building out, these guys, and then we had, take that and build a bigger component out of that. And, these all have kind of their hovered states and selected states. And basically you put that all together, as I was saying, as part of like a bigger experience. And now you have like this, let me run that again, this full blown game menu that is interactive.
That's crazy.
And you as a designer built it, right? You don't need to have, like, engineers just have to tie into, like, over here, this state machine is more complicated. It's got multiple state machines running at the same time. But you can see here, this player 2 master select, it's set to 5 right now. I can set it to 4, and you'll see that it moved that over, right? I can set it to 3, and it basically disabled this component, enabled that component, and made this character the right one. It changed the text to be the correct text. And but like, your engineers just have to set, like, oh, I moved the controller left, bring the number down by 1 value. And the designer gets to control everything else. And so, if you take one thing away, that's really the punchline is you can empower your designers to build graphics that work, and you let your engineers still be able to control it and hook up to it, but it gets rid of all this duplicated work where, in another platform, like, and engineers would basically have to redo all this work and rebuild it in code. All right,
got you.
I'm gonna let you get a word in.
No, I'm glad I didn't get a word in, because they would have stopped all the amazing stuff that you just showed. And we stopped at a perfect spot, because my next question really was like, what is the handoff like? We had some questions in regards to what was it called? Unity, and what is the other one? Unreal. And you guys do support those,
That's right.
And
yep.
But what does the handoff look like? A lot of the, because I'm trying to use my designer brain, man, and I'm hitting sparks, because the usual. Go ahead.
You would go and export here, and you export a file, which just download. You're not gonna be able to see it. Some of these are tiny, by the way. This one's a little bigger. This one's like a couple megs, I think. But like some of the other ones I showed you, that like this, and the other one are like 20, 30 kilobytes, are like really tiny. But what you do is you export that runtime Rive file, and then you use our runtimes here, which if you go to the page, and you should be able to, I think this takes you to our document here. Let me show you our documentation. Essentially, what you do is you load this runtime, we call it, it's a library that you can add as a plugin for Unreal or Unity. And that lets developers basically load your Rive file and control it with an API, Like we're talking about with that star rater, you basically look for, that rating input on the state machine. And in Unreal's blueprints, for example, you can do it all without code. You can use Unreal blueprints to say, set the active character to 2 or to 3. You can hook that up to a joystick that moves left and right, or any kind of data. You could connect it to your phone's accelerometer, tilt left, tilt right. So that's the part, like that whole stack I was showing you. Like what I just showed you is just the editor. But there's a whole other part, which is the runtimes, which basically let you load that file on any of these platforms and manipulate it with code. And again, that means you don't have to rebuild it all. You just load it, in Unity or Unreal, and it works.
That's wonderful, man. Because my brain was like the Figma sort of brain, where you have to, what the case is, exactly like you said, the developer has to build everything from scratch. And this is something totally different. With that being said, I wanted, as we're getting a little bit closer to, we have about like 15-ish minutes. I want to leave about 10-ish minutes for any Q&A. So ladies and gentlemen, if you guys are watching on either platform, please feel free to start loading in some of your questions, because once we start getting to that last 5-10 minutes, it's your turn. Okay. My question to you was, man, things are moving really fast in our industry with AI, different things like that, trends popping up every other week. How are you guys positioning yourselves within, or how are you guys positioning Rive with a fast moving environment that you're in? And can we see some, are you guys kind of playing with some AI AI X, Y, Z at Rive?
Not how you would probably imagine. So our stance on it is that there's a lot of people working on AI right now, and it's pretty saturated. And it's not really our superpower is understanding the designer developer connection and how to build, like what I was just showing you, the whole product. And there's a lot that we still want to build, and we don't want to get distracted going too far into stuff that that people have mentioned. You add just a simple AI feature, and you could fundraise really easily today just by doing that. And we kind of instead take the stance of there's so many things that we want to get done that I can get to talking about some of the features we have coming up. And once we add some of those features, then it'll open the door for some really cool AI integrations that can happen. For example, when we add scripting, that'll add the ability to do some really cool stuff with AI. But that's not to say that people aren't using AI today. So, for example, there's a Duolingo, and there's another company that's escaping me right now. But there's a few companies that are doing some really cool stuff where they're basically creating scenes with they're creating the art with Rive, but then they're using the AI to kind of generate a scene. So, for example, Duolingo has all their characters are like built out, as characters with multiple angles and multiple backgrounds, and so then they'll use like AI to kind of write a story and generate the scene and position the Rive files appropriately and all that. And so it's just like really interesting way to basically, like what we like to say internally is that they're using Rive, these customers like Duolingo are using Rive to augment art rather than to replace artists. Like the artists are still building all the work that you see, all the characters or animations, that's still being built by artists. But then AI enables it to quickly build like a massive amount of interesting scenes, and find what are the fun ones, what are the good ones, what are the ones that kind of like work really well. Actually, one use case we have a lot of right now is people just building chatbots. So people are building Rive, chatbots where you can kind of make a character, do some lip syncing stuff, and then have it basically connect to some kind of chat GPT or whatever to generate the speech. There's one founder actually I saw recently who's working on a character to like talk to kids and make sure that kids have like a safe space to talk to like this really friendly character. Anyway, cool. I think that's the type of stuff that is really interesting and exciting to see what's happening.
That's really cool, man. So you guys are basically AI, keep that to the creatives. You figure out what you're trying to do, then come use Rive to kind of bring that to life.
We're not looking to have like a quickly generate a beach scene for me in Rive. Also because there's like so much of that stuff. Like you can go find another tool that does that. We don't really need it. I think and like I said, once we add scripting, maybe there's the opportunity to have that plugged in, but there's no real benefit, we think, to our users today to do that. We're better off staying focused on some of the bigger picture features that we're trying to get out the door this year.
I love that. I think that's really smart, to be honest with you. Sticking to your guns, keeping with what you do really well. With that being said, if not AI, what are you really excited about, you and your team? And if you can't, obviously you can't say anything, but what are some of the things, features that you and your team are really excited about in the near future?
Yeah, we're super transparent. We talk openly about this stuff all the time. So I think it'll come as no surprise to folks who have been following us that like one of the big features we're working on right now is layouts. So we're building, you can make responsive layouts in Rive, but it kind of needs a bit of work. Like I didn't show you some of the like blending states that you can create that basically can blend multiple animations together. And that's the way to kind of create layouts that resize. But we're going to be adding, like proper kind of Figma like auto layout, but more like CSS Flex and Grid and that type of stuff. But with but with that is also going to be this kind of way to do data binding that will basically let you create like an empty group that can have items like a drop down, right? Like I was showing before with that hexagonal menu. And imagine you can bind that to like some external data that you have and say like, okay, this Dropbox has 10, or sorry, not Dropbox, drop down, like a combo box has like 10 items in it, and you click on it and it opens up 10 items under it. And what we're building are features that will let you not only make that standard kind of cookie cutter drop down that you see everywhere, but also then just make it really super custom. So for example, instead of making it drop down in a straight line, you can make it open up in a hexagonal pattern or any kind of shape or path that you want to build, and you can fill it with as many items as you want. So I think you'll start seeing people create like really unique, kind of going back to what I was talking about when we, talking about the Xbox 360 apps, that type of stuff that, me and my twin were working on earlier in our careers. Like, it will make it possible for people to build really unique components that don't just follow every other cookie cutter thing that I think we kind of lost a bit with design. Like I think we started standardizing and making things really accessible, which was awesome and has benefited a lot. But we also lost this creativity and this like really unique way for brands to just look different from one another. And so I think that's why I'm excited about these features, because everyone we talk to is like, that's what we want. We want to just build something that's really unique to us. Those are some of the features that are coming. Obviously, I mentioned scripting is another really big one. Mm-hmm. We got some live links in the work that basically means that you can be working in our editor and immediately see it update in real time on your website or on Unity or in Unreal. You don't even have to drag the file over. Those are some of the features that I think we're just really excited about this year.
I love it, man. When I saw and what did you call it? The feature that kind of responds. What does that refer to?
Yeah, so layouts is the new feature we're working on. The way you can do it today is using blend states in the state machine. So it's like basically blending animations together.
Got you. Can we actually? I'm gonna kind of put us on the spot here. I know you had like your tabs ready to go, but do you? Because I remember I was looking at like a blog post or something where it kind of showcased the how layouts work. I'm not really sure if it was on a blog or.
I can show you some videos. I don't have our test environment running here on this computer, so I can't show you the latest and greatest, but I can bring up some videos that we've shared if you want to see that.
Oh, let's do that. And then while we're going through this, ladies and gentlemen, please feel free to like get your questions in now. And oh man, ladies and gentlemen, what's happening over on the Instagram side of things? Really quick. Look, I see the chat rolling, but it looks like there's a pause. Why the world today is not being nice? Give me a quick second, ladies and gentlemen. Give me a quick second to double check something. Okay, we're live. Okay. Just my screen. All right, guys. I was just like, why today? All right, so let's go back to Guido's screen. I don't know why things want to be freezing on me today.
So I'll bring up this is my Twitter account. There's some videos we shared here, this is one that I don't know how well you can see this, but someone on our team, Phil, I shared this. He was working on this earlier, a few months ago now, and this is an example of like layouts that like can kind of resize and Rive and animate and do all kinds of stuff, and gives you an idea of like how you can build stuff that's really makes it easier to build these components that have a lot of functionality. Let's see, there's another one here I can bring up. This is like kind of your more simple, kind of pinning things, to a specific location and being able to resize it. And like, this is stuff that, like, again, it's pretty table stakes for most design tools, but when you're building something that actually has to work and run on any platform, it's not as straightforward. And so this is the feature we're building is a way that, it's gonna do what you want in the editor, but then also, work at runtime. And there's this is another example of building something I was talking about, components that would typically take kind of some effort to build and make unique. And this is like, again, you can see, ignore the UI here, it's very placeholder stuff, but you kind of building like accordions that you can expand and collapse and have multiple things in them. And this is kind of what we're working on with a layouts feature that just basically means that you'll be able to build some pretty cool functional components in Rive that are also really fluid. And then what gets me really excited is that once we have these features, I was talking about like kind of what we see as like table stakes to, basically building out like what our vision of the product has always been, these layouts, those building these components that can do really custom things. I talked about scripting and all that. Once that's in, we're also working on our new renderer, which I mentioned earlier. And once, we've got these basic features in, what gets me really excited is that we have the ability to then go and build things that you've just never seen in design tools. Like design tools, the base features haven't really all that evolved over many, many years. And that's because the formats are still like, you still ultimately have to export to like an SVG or, a format that is limited by what it supports. And we'll be adding things like, we have new ways to do blurs and shadows and strokes and things that like, will allow you to do things that you can't quite do today. Like I mentioned, strokes, we'll have the ability to like create tapered strokes and make and animate those and just create things that look a lot more organic rather than like these, strokes that have the same width. And again, you'll be able to ship that anywhere. It'll work on any platform. And so there's just some small examples of things that like we're going to be adding soon that I think will just mean that Rive is going to go in a direction that no other design tool is really going, because we own that end-to-end pipeline and can make things that are, really unique just to our platform.
Yeah, I really had to get that in before we went into Q&A, because just like you said, I've never, because that's basically a design functionality. I never would have thought that it's interactive animation tool would have thought that way. So first off, thank you. Second of all, we really got to check that out. And excited to see when that goes live. So really quick, I want to move into questions with our final minutes here. Ladies and gentlemen, again, get your questions in, but we have this one first. How user-friendly is Rive as an artist animating professional artwork for games? On Spline, currently they're using Spline to create games. You're familiar with Spline? Yeah. So they're just trying to compare that.
Yeah, there's a few studios that converted from Spline to Rive. I think the biggest advantage to Rive is that we have vector graphics, and so that's one of the advantages over Spline is the fact that you can create these like really performant low weight characters, kind of like you can in Spline. So we support similar stuff to Spline. You obviously can use raster graphics and all that, but the fact that you can do it also in vector means that they can be scalable. They'll work on any device. You don't have to like export different, like Duolingo uses that vector graphics for everything, right? They ship to so many different phones and devices. Then the fact that they just make one asset and it can scale across anything works great for them. And so yeah, as far as that goes, I think there's some benefits. We also having the state machine built into the character means that you can just do a lot more kind of unique stuff directly in the editor while you're working on the character. And yeah, you definitely can replace Spline with Rive. We have a number of studios doing that today, but I think that's kind of the reason we don't talk a whole lot about that is that, again, we're not really trying to compete with other tools. We're trying to go where the other tools don't go. And I think that's one of the huge advantages of Rive is not only can you use it for your 2D characters in your game, but then you can build your entire UI with it too, which is a huge pain point in game tools. And so I think that's where it suddenly starts becoming really valuable is when studios realize like, oh, not only can this be our UI solution, but it can also like we can use it to build 2D props and characters and all kinds of stuff. And yeah, so long answer to say that yes, you can use it as a spline replacement, and we have many studios that are doing that. But that's just one of the benefits that we've seen.
I love it. And I'm seeing a lot of AI related questions. My friends, you guys are going to have to watch the replay back on YouTube. It will be up. But listen, we have about 1 minute left. We want to respect Guido's time. Guido, what would you say to those who are wanting to try Rive but haven't yet made an account, haven't got in? Why should they make an account? And let me just switch because I need your full face in this, but let me just switch the scene really quick.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
So what would be your answer to someone who is unsure?
So I'd say if you're already a motion designer, then I'd say that one of the big benefits is that now you can take your skills and build graphics for things that you couldn't before. For example, if you're a motion designer, you pretty much already know how to use Rive. You just have to learn a little bit, and you can start building game UI. You can start building vehicle clusters for cars and all kinds of, like we have companies doing that right now. That's a big kind of market that's opened up this year, is like vehicle companies. And so if you're already a motion designer, I would encourage you to try Rive, because suddenly you can do stuff that you couldn't do before. You can build a video game. You can build car dashboards that are actually functional and can be, not just mock-ups and prototypes. So I think that's one exciting thing to think about. You can build a website without having to really know a whole lot of HTML or CSS or JavaScript. And then the other part is if you don't know any of those things, and you don't know motion design at all, then I would say start with the basics. I said this earlier on, but Rive's design and animation tools aren't anything revolutionary. Like, you can take any animation course, any design course, and you can quickly start creating interactive graphics. Again, the big benefit is that not only can you just export them and get a little video out of it, but you can also then publish it to any product and have it really work, have it really be interactive. And I think that's where, why would you build something that can't do all those things, instead of just building, a video here or a website there, or maybe another portion somewhere else? You can use one tool that really helps you build the graphic that will run anywhere.
Love the answer. All right, Guido, we got to respect your time, but thank you so much for coming out with us today. And ladies and gentlemen, if you guys want to learn more about Rive, the platform, join the community, so on and so forth, on Instagram, please write in the live chat. Rive will automatically DM you their website, their community, and how you can get started with Rive today. So Guido, thank you so much for your time.
Well, thanks,
thank you so much for your knowledge, brother. And hopefully we get to talk to you soon. Thank you so much, guys. Take it easy. Bye.